Hey guys, it's Nisa Lamara. Welcome back to my channel. I know that you guys have been asking me about my experience in the new city and being in New York. Do I like it? Basically how I ended up in New York is working in the natural hair community and being an influencer, being a blogger. I'm exposed to a lot of different brands. So I reached out to a brand that I work with and we had a really good relationship. We had a standing relationship. And so I felt comfortable with reaching out to them, saying, hey, it's not working for me in Maryland. What do I need to do to get where you at? What do I need to do to get to New York? I had been kind of biting at the bit trying to figure out where I wanted to go, where I wanted to be, and I just didn't feel like Maryland was working for me. So I met up with my connect when I went to New York for my best friend's birthday. We chatted it up. They asked me what I wanted to do. And they're like, okay, well, we'll see what we have, and if something comes up, we'll let you know. And I was thinking, well, maybe it may or may not pan out, so I'm not gonna put all my ducks in one row. So I decided to start looking into going and pursuing my cosmetology license again for the third time. But God was like, I have other plans for you, my child. So what ended up happening was they contacted me. They were saying, hey, are you interested in coming on board to work for a brand? And I was like, yeah. I did have my doubts because I'm no stranger to moving. Again, I moved from Maryland a year ago. I was staying in Mississippi for a couple of years. I've lived in Atlanta. I've lived in DC, Maryland for 5 to 6 years. I've traveled abroad, stayed a couple of weeks out of the country. So I'm no stranger to moving, relocating, readapting to new situations. I haven't been here long, so I just can't give a complete definite yes, I love living in New York. But I definitely think that I did make the right decision. I definitely believe that I am where I'm supposed to be. There are some things that I didn't know that I know now that I want to share with you guys in my little tips that I've learned so far being here. So finding an apartment in New York was definitely an interesting experience. I initially came out here with my mom, my godmom, my grandma, and my stepdad to look for apartments. We ended up going to The View, which, yeah, guys, I was on The View. I wasn't there like to do anything. I was just there as an audience member. And we were supposed to be looking for our apartment. And we ended up looking at like 2 places in Harlem. And it was just kind of like, no, I think I'm gonna pass on Harlem. And we went to go stay with my uncle in Queens. And I was just like, I don't want to stay in this neighborhood either. I was able to spend that time with my family, but I really didn't do the research that it took to really find a nice place. So when looking for an apartment in a city, especially like New York, and you don't know where to look for, what I did was I asked a lot of people that I already knew that were living here. I put up on Instagram a post of where would you stay if you move into New York. And I got a lot of Harlem, I got a lot of Brooklyn. I had been to Harlem, did not want to go back to Harlem. So I was like, okay, well, let me check out Brooklyn. So me and my mom and her friend planned another trip back to New York, and we ended up finding eventually a place that's kind of like near Brooklyn. I would definitely say do your research and actually go to the places that you're trying to find, because you just never know until you actually physically get there. Which brings me to number 2, with also doing your research, is what you want to do is have your finances and your business in order when you're trying to move here. You have to have a certain type of credit score. You have to make 40 times the amount of rent. You have to have your most recent couple of pay stubs, your bank statement, a letter of recommendation in some places from other apartments that you've stayed in. And if you do not make more than 40 times the amount of your rent, they will ask you for a guarantor. And what a guarantor is kind of like a co-signer, like on a car. The guarantor has to make 80 times the amount of the rent. So if you don't know anyone who's making that type of bread, it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Sometimes you have to pay extra, so they may ask for 2 months in advance plus the security deposit, plus they also have to do a background check, of course. So it's just a really extensive process. And speaking of moving arrangements and apartment arrangements, I did not know my roommates. I didn't know them from Adam or Eve. We did get a chance to know each other when I first moved, because there was like this big debacle about our first apartment, and that apartment didn't end up working out because they were trying to move extra people into our apartment downstairs, and we were like, that's not gonna work. So me and the roommate that had met, we were like, well, we want to see something else, because they were trying to give us our money back. I was like, no, I don't want my money back. I need somewhere to stay, right? So we ended up finding this place. We fell in love with it. Everything worked out. Ended up getting my keys that night. It was the night before it was time for me to start work. So I didn't move into this apartment until 1 o'clock in the morning. But I was able to meet my roommate before then. It's like, welcome to New York. There's always going to be a story if you move to New York. Just know that. We actually hit it off. But you know, you start getting to know people. People start getting into routines, and people start getting into, you know, they groove. And sometimes it just don't work. I'm not going to say I'm in the worst situation as far as roommates go. A lot of people do know their roommates. Sometimes you can meet your roommates prior to moving in. Sometimes you can actually interview roommates. New York is on a whole nother type of level when it comes to living with other people, because it's the norm since it's so expensive living here. So me staying with 2 roommates is actually pretty abnormal, because a lot of people end up moving here and they have like 3, 4, 5 roommates. So I kind of looked up in that sense. So I discussed what you would need to move in on your own, have your own rent, and actually go through a realtor and actually go through the company or the building wherever the apartment is leasing out of. But there are other options such as subletting, such as gypsy housing. You can also have an option of an Airbnb. Now these options, basically you're going through an actual person, not through a realtor or whatever. Not as extensive, like as far as your credit. All they want to know is, can you pay your rent on time? If someone wants to rent out their basement and they just do it, and that's pretty much how it goes. A lot of those places you can actually find on Craigslist. You can find them on nooklin.com. And then with Airbnb, if you haven't heard of Airbnb, it's basically an option or alternative versus using a hotel. So a lot of people use it if they're just traveling, but if you're trying to use it when you're just moving, it's a really great option, because a lot of people will rent out their houses or their apartments or whatever. They normally have them fixed up really, really nice, and they just rent them out because maybe they travel a lot, or maybe they have another property that they live in. Sometimes you can rent it out for a day, you can rent it out for 2 weeks. Some places that's like you can rent it out for up to like 3 to 4 months, or for like a whole summer. Whew. So as you can see, it is a definite process of moving to the city. Hopefully if you're moving to somewhere smaller, it's not as expensive, but you get the drift. So commuting in New York, fun. So I initially was going to bring my car up to New York with me. I drove up here that first week with my mom, my grandma, my stepdad. After that weekend, I was like, Now, if you do want to bring your car up here, you totally can. There's like 2 or 3 different parking lots around my neighborhood where you can rent your parking space monthly versus parking on the streets. Because you don't want to park on the streets. I mean, you can park on the streets, but there's some times where they're like doing a street sweep and you have to move your car, and you can't move your car in the middle of the day if you're at work. We have parking garages in the city. They're just super expensive, but in my neighborhood I think you can probably pay like $150 a month for your parking space, which is actually pretty cheap. What I do is every month I get my monthly pass, so I don't have to wait in these long lines. I mainly take the subway, and the subway. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Anissa, and I have been homeless for the past 3 months because my house caught on fire, and I have 5 children and 1 on the way, and I'm just asking for you to give whatever God lays on your heart to give. Thank you so much. I appreciate you hearing me out. You have a great and blessed day. That is what you would hear on the metro. People be selling Kit Kats and candy and water. Like, they be hustling on the trains, like doing dance competitions, like the stuff that you see on the TV. Like, it's actually for real on these trains. Those days, all you need is your earphones, some good music. haven't really dealt with any harassment. I pretty much just keep to myself. I normally have my shades on most of the time. There's different alternatives of commuting back and forth, or you can just walk. You get a lot of cardiovascular exercise living in the city, that's for sure. Another thing to note is just living day to day, grocery shopping, trying to find furniture, trying to just really figure out your way around is not easy. Therefore, knowing your boroughs, knowing what downtown and uptown means, knowing where stuff is located is so vital. That's why when I first moved to this apartment, because it was so last minute, I really wasn't able to get a clear cut vision of the neighborhood that I was moving into. And I just so happened to move into a neighborhood that has a bunch of laundromats, a bunch of bodegas, or Jew-man stores, what we call them back in the South. Like little mom and pop shops around here and there. And don't get me wrong, I am not too good to shop at a mom and pop shop. I don't really like them because they stink and they smell stale, like stale bread and mold and mothballs, and I just can't get with it. You have to kind of like be creative with how you navigate through your neighborhood. I was able to find a grocery store, a legit grocery store that looked and smelled like a grocery store not too far from my apartment, because I was like, I can't go 30 minutes to grocery shop from the house. Like, that is just not, because I don't have a car. What I did my first time when I grocery shopped up here, I took my suitcase. I sure did. I took my suitcase, I put my groceries in it when I got my groceries, and I hauled that stuff on the bus and called it a day. Shopping online is going to become your best friend. What I've actually noticed about the people here is that people are actually very nice if you speak to them or ask them a question. I have met some really nice people. Now, where the rudeness comes in is when people are trying to get to where they're trying to go on the train. Like the hustle and bustle of the train, people are super rude, but you become rude right along with them, so you don't really notice it anymore. And that's kind of how it was in DC. But people are actually really willing to help you if you open up your mouth and ask for the actual help. So I have had some really positive experiences being in New York, which kind of leads me to my next point is events and things to do in the city. It is unlike anywhere I have ever been. Even in DC, like, I just feel like everything is so much more accessible, even though I have to take the train to get to it. I don't know what type of logic that is. There's a lot more free stuff to do. Like Curl Fest was free, the Essence Street Style block party is free. There are a lot of free yoga in Prospect Park. One of the morning shows up the street from my job, they have little concerts. I think it's Good Morning America or whatever. They have the concerts up the street that you can just kind of peer in on. You don't know who you're gonna meet, and it's just so many different opportunities to meet so many different people. You just kind of have to make yourself available to meet those people. The dating scene, you know, those are just my thoughts and views and advice about the city so far. Now this is going to be a super long video, but y'all have been asking me, so I'm answering. If you have any other questions, definitely list them down below in the comment section. Just know that overall my experience, it has been a positive one. It's just growing pains. It's just kind of learning my new surroundings. So guys, don't forget to please rate, comment, and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. I'll talk to you guys later.